residents. Now, thank you for coming to today's session, and feel welcome. And I would like to remind us that safety is paramount, and it's a personal responsibility for all of us to be in safety, personal protective equipment. Now, last week we learned something about the types of pipes. Can we remind ourselves of what we learned last week about type of pipes? Yes? We learned about PVR pipes, PVC pipe. We learned about PVC pipes. We also learned about HDPE pipes. So that brings us to our today's session. Now that we learned about galvanized iron pipes in our last session, today we learn how to cut that galvanized iron pipe. So today for our practical lesson, by the end of this practical session, you should be able to know how to cut a galvanized iron pipe, and whatever else you expected to learn, to be able to know what you have learned after the end of the session is to identify tools used to cut galvanized iron pipes, and also to be able to cut a galvanized iron pipe. So first thing first, we want to identify some of the tools that can be used to cut a galvanized iron pipe. So with me here are some of the tools that you can use to cut a galvanized iron pipe. Who can identify any of them? Yes?
I can see an axle here.
Yes, so with us here is an axle. This is the main tool of our today's session, and it's used to cut the galvanized iron pipe. And it is having different components. We have the frame, and we have the handle, and also we have the blade. So the blade is what is doing the cutting. So when you are fixing the blade, you loosen the wing nut at the farthest end. If this one gets blunt, so you can replace a new one. You loosen the wing nut and replace a new one. You ensure that the tips are facing the forward direction. Another tool that we are going to use today, you can identify any other tool. Yes, also we have this one. This one is called. So this is a tape measure. So this tape measure is evaluated in centimeters and also in feet, but also you can get reading in millimeters from this particular tape. This one is what we use to measure your workpiece, or the size of the workpiece you want to cut. And also with us here now is the material itself. This one is what we call the GI pipe. Now, during the activity also of cutting, we also will have an assistance of this particular tool here which is called a vice. This one is what you use to hold your workpiece firmly before doing the cutting. Any other tool that is used to cut galvanized iron pipe that you have not looked at any? I think we have looked at them all. Now, before we carry out the activity, I also want to emphasize that safety is important, and we have some of the safety tools with us. We are privileged to have some of the safety tools. What this called the PPE? What do we call this PPE? Helmet. Helmet. What does the helmet help us with?
It protects our heads from falling.
So the helmet protects our head from falling object. We also have another PPE. What do we call this PPE?
The face mask.
We call it a face mask. And what is the use of the face mask?
It protects our face, that is the eyes, from light.
Yeah, this one protects our eyes from flying objects and also dust. And lastly, what do we call this PPE? Gloves. Yes, this one is what we call a glove. What's the use of the glove? Yes?
It protects our hands from cuts and dust.
Yeah, it protects our hands from cut and also from dust. As you'll be able to see, after cutting, there are some bars that are formed on the cut piece, and to prevent that injury from those bars, we wear the hand glove. Now I'll be able to demonstrate how the cutting of the galvanized iron is done, and allow me to put the procedure down of how it is done. So the first thing we do is we select the first procedure is to identify the size of the GII pipe to cut. Secondly, the second procedure is we measure the second procedure we'll be able to measure, mark the point where we want to cut. And then the last procedure so the third procedure is that we will cut at the mark accurately. Now we want you to come closer to be able to demonstrate how to cut a GI pipe. So with that we have the three important tools, and now we have the vise. So this is how the vise is operated. You open it up, then you place your workpiece, and then you tighten to make sure that your workpiece is firm. And then the second thing we do, as we have stated, is that we measure. So for this demonstration, we'll mark the 10 or the 100 millimeter mark. So with a marker, you ensure that your mark is at 100 millimeter mark. So after marking, now the next activity is now we do the cutting. So for us to cut, we make sure that at the mark we place our axle in a 90 degrees angle, and then we start cutting. Most effective cutting occurs during the forward stroke. So we start slowly to obtain a joint. After you have a firm joint, now you continue to cut off the piece of the eye pipe. So as you can see, we have obtained a 90-degree cut, and that is how a GI pipe is cut. Now I want you to practice the same. I want one person to use this station, another person to use that station, and one person to remain at this station. Cut at the 10 millimeter mark, and that will take you around 5 minutes to do that. Let me have your work pieces whatever you have done. Also, with the materials you are using, we collect them here. The tools we have used in the work pieces, and the piece of materials here. Thank you. Now let's see what we have done. This one was done by Frederick. I think as you can see, we have achieved an 90-degree cut, and also on the measurement, we are okay. And now again, we have another workpiece here. This one was done by Patrick. This one was done by Patrick. We have achieved a 90-degree cut, and the measurement is okay. And then we have another workpiece. This done by Bernard. We have achieved a 90 degrees, and the measurement is also correct. You can clap for yourself. So lastly, a reminder is that when you find bars around after the cut, you can file them using a file, or you can use a sandpaper. Now that marks the main learning outcome of our today practical session. Who can remember what we have learned today? Yes?
We learned on how to cut a galvanized iron pipe.
Yeah, we have learned on how to cut a galvanized iron pipe using an axle. Yes?
Learned parts of an axle.
We also learned parts of an axle, and that is excellent. So for today, I'll give you an assignment that you'll be able to collect next week. So allow me to put it down. So make sure you do that assignment and make sure you turn it in on or before the due date. Thank you for today. You can depart at your own.